大家好，我是草泥马乐队的游云瑞 Chris， 你正在收听的是
Doom.Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Doomtombpodcast, the podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. My name is Chris. I am your host. Today, we're going to be talking with Jay from the band Sun Below. But before we do that, well, just a few things. Number one, I hope you're all staying safe out there, and I hope that everybody will be healthy in the end. And also, I made a mistake as I was listening to this episode, doing some editing, that I misspoke about something. Abby from the band Gone Cosmic was not in Cron Goblin, and I reached out to her to make sure, because I didn't remember it properly, and maybe she was at a show or something, but I spoke to her through social media, and this is what she had to say. John Sandulak has always been the stellar vocalist for Cron Goblin. The only two members that Gone Cosmic and Cron Goblin share is Devin Purdy, which is the lead guitar for both projects, and Brett Whittingham, which is bass for Gone Cosmic and drums for Cron Goblin. Thank you so much, Abby. You just turned it around, and you messaged me back right away. Really appreciate that. And now we're going to get into some fellow Canadians. This is Jay from the band Sun Below. We got another episode here with the band Sun Below. Now we have one of the members, Jay, and this is another band out of Canada. And if you haven't heard them yet, well, we've got a lot of things to explain, and one of them is the title of Heavy Sativa Power Rock Trio, or Pulverized Earth Crepuscle Metal. Did I say that right, Jay?
I have no idea. You would have to ask our friend Craig Rose, who he put some shows on for us, and he comes up with some pretty creative descriptions. So
they're hysterical.
Yeah, I don't know. You've got me on that one, man.
Which band is he in?
He's not in a band. He's a promoter. He runs Rose Management in downtown Toronto, and he puts on some pretty sick shows, and he always comes up with some really creative descriptions for each of the bands he has come out. So, whatever Crepuscle or Crepuscle, I'm not sure, man. You got me.
I don't know. It sounds like something that I should pick off my skin, really. I don't know.
It could be. Yeah, you might need an ointment for that.
Yeah, I got a cream for that. So, Jay, could you just please give a formal introduction and tell everybody what you play in the band?
Yeah, for sure. So, my name is Jay, and I do all the guitars for Sun Below. We're a heavy stoner doom power trio. We play our signature brand we call it Sativa Rock because, we want to have like kind of a subcategory of stoner that's the specific strain we're after. Because we want to keep the energy up high. We don't want people sitting back and mellowing out too much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's got kind of all the trademarks of stoner doom. It's got some infectious grooves, a lot of fuzz, and a lot of volume.
Hell yeah, it does. And I found that out recently. Like when I was a kid, I had a little smoke here and there, and I didn't know any better. It's green, it's good. And
that's right.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, now all of a sudden it's kind of like we're trying out different scotches or different wines or different cigar. And what notes do you get? What do you get with this? And I started with some sativas, and I got to say, man, I am. You think you do what do they call it? The couch slouch, where you just kind of like bury yourself in the couch.
Just fall back into it.
Yeah, but instead it's like I want to clean the house and I want to walk the dog and I want to edit the podcast or whatever. So it's kind of
exactly.
It's kind of weird. Now, I wanted to go over some of the bands that you've played with, but before I do, I interviewed a band a while ago, Gone Cosmic. Are you familiar with them?
I'm not. That's a really cool name, though.
Yeah, they're. Well, you played with Kron Goblin, correct?
We did, yes.
Okay.
That was
the lead singer. She also sings for God Cosmic.
Oh, okay, nice.
So, when we did the interview, they mentioned something very different, and it was a kind of a slang term. And I don't know if you might have heard it. Maybe it was indicative more their area than yours. Are you familiar with what a wobbly pop is?
Beer.
Shit. Dude, he said, I ask people to do a promo every once in a while, which I'll ask you later when we're done.
Right.
And he says, I'm just sucking down a few wobbly pops, and get twisted or whatever. And I was like, I was hysterical. I just never heard that term before. Is there any other? Go ahead.
Up north, we got some weird terms up north.
Can you throw a few at me? I want to see. Maybe I can guess.
Here's a weird one. I've heard I don't know if it's supposed to be just like a massive joint, but the term of a sclef for that. I've never actually really seen what a proper one is, but I've heard of it referred to a few times, and that one always kind of gets me.
So it's not a spliff, but a sclef.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. What else you got? Just like something you'd use every day that maybe I wouldn't know.
I don't know. I'm kind of run out on them. Splef's pretty much all I got, man.
That's perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna run through a few band names that you played with, and some of them, I'm curious because some of these bands, I got to tell you, man, they've got some long ass complicated names here. So one of the names is Anthropophagy.
Yeah, they were a death metal band that we played with in Oshawa back in October.
All right,
but I remember tagging them in some social media posts, and it was I had to check the spelling at least 2 or 3 times to make sure I had it right. And then when we were actually live, I don't know if I think I did try to say their name out loud, like to say, oh, they're coming up next. But it only would have been once.
And Karma Cat.
Yeah, that was at our first show, and we had those guys put on the show for us, and I never really figured out from them what the meaning of that was, but I don't know, they had a cat for their logo for a while, and yeah, I don't know, if you feel it, then roll with it, man.
it really kind of rolls off the tongue. I like it.
Yeah.
Now, you got some other bands you played with that I get the idea. Old Soul, Call It, Hexenclad, Black Mastiff, Black Galaxy, Hunter Gatherer, Ape Shifter, Strange Limbs, Acids, Head, Calibeel, Rough Spells. But there was one that kind of caught me. I'm curious.
Sure.
Pussy Stench.
Yeah, they're a band from Montreal. They were just like a good heavy rock band, but female fronted too. I don't know if that plays into it, but yeah.
Very interesting. Now,
yeah.
Okay, so you played this thing called the Metal Barbecue in August, and it was kind of like a house show. And in the flyer it says you must wear a metal T-shirt. Was there anybody that disobeyed that rule?
I think everybody held to it, because I think it would have been a very public embarrassment for anybody that didn't. I think our drummer came there with I think he had a plaid shirt on at one point, and then he quickly realized he had to take it off and get his Motorhead on.
Yeah, you gotta look there. This is what was expected, and he if you fall short, there's going to be damage. There really will be.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want to be that one person who shows up with a collared golf shirt on or something like that, and is just the butt end of ridicule for the whole night. Absolutely not. Now, and you know what? I was nervous today because I have my regular everyday job, and I went to it today, and today was what we called Pajama Day, where you dress up in your pajamas. Oh, nice! What a thrill!
Oh yeah. Well, I had to make sure I didn't have anything, like open in the front. I didn't want anything falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's some sweats and like an oversized shirt or whatever. I get it. But I walked in. I was like, I was hoping someone else did it. I hope I wasn't the only one at the place. And thankfully, there were other people that did it. I don't really always get why we do it, but I think it's just kind of like maybe to shock the people that come in, the clients that come in. I don't know.
Yeah, and it should be mandatory because, if you're the one guy who's in there with his plaid PJs on and you've got a bunch of holes in them, then it's not going to be a good look.
No, and it could be very scary. So, okay, I got a question for you. For your drum, I apologize. Your drummer's name is?
His name is Will.
Will. Okay, so Will does the artwork, correct? Or the ideas?
He does a lot of it. Like our current logo that we use, it was actually originally created by Adam C. Design and Illustration. He's a great artist. He's done stuff for one band that I'm really into right now, Goblinsmoker. Yeah, they have a new EP. They have a new EP coming out. I think just in a week or so. But he does all the art for them, and that's actually how I found him. And he's done. He did our most recent logo, and actually we have a cover for something forthcoming that he did as well. Awesome. But he did the logo, and then Will has kind of taken that, and then when we've done just kind of these simple EP covers, he's kind of played around with the art for that. So
absolutely. Now here's the question. So as a drummer, I know it's not you, but I think you might have an answer for this. As a drummer, how does he get a black eye playing a cover of Fairies Wear Boots? That
should be explanatory, shouldn't it?
I want
Fairies Wear Boots, man. You got to get into it.
So, what did he do? Like, was he using more than two sticks? What happened?
The way I remember it is just it kind of came up at the end of the song, and it's just like he's like, oh, I hit myself in the eye. It's like, okay, and we're kind of just like, all right, well, let's get on to the next song here. And as he's kind of nursing his wound, but as the practice went on, his face just started to get progressively more swollen. And then by the next day, he sent us a picture, and that's probably what you're referring to. And his whole face was just had this spot right there, and then just a big blown up bruise all around it.
I guess
it's dangerous being a drummer, man. That's why I don't do it.
Apparently, look, the cymbals can be sharp. I guess I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I'm expecting like maybe
flying around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and reverberating, etc. I can imagine like a cut, but that thing, man, it looks like he just like got in a fight or something. We'll get right back into the interview in just a minute, but I usually don't do too many edits when I'm doing an episode, and the only reason I just want to let y'all know that I edited this a little bit, so you might hear some tweaks and some changes around. The reason I did it was some of it was just the plain old. It was a Skype call, so it was a signal interference. And the other was we talked a little bit about a tour and some big show dates that right now aren't happening. So I figured, I'll just take that out because it's not really relevant right now. And, don't want to get anybody's hopes up for something that's really not happening. All right. Thanks for hearing me ramble. Back on to the interview. It's a place that you played called the Bovine Sex Club.
Yes.
Is that like I saw the outside of it? Is that a cool spot? Is it kind of sketch? What is it?
No, it's really cool. I love the Bovine. It does have like the exterior of it. If you weren't aware that there was a venue there, you would just think it was like I don't know, a garbage plant or something. It's got shopping carts like hanging around on the outside. But once you get inside, it's I like the Bovine. Yeah, it's great. It's got all kinds of crazy lights and just a lot of just random stuff kind of hanging around the bar and everything.
And I appreciate that.
Great venue. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
It's very colorful.
It sure is. And while we're on the subject, what are some places like? Okay, so. Somebody's going to go to Toronto, which that's where you're based out of, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So somebody's going to go and do a tour, maybe from the States or wherever, what are some places that are really great to book in your area that cater to our scene?
So I would say the Bovine is definitely one of them. Another one, actually I mentioned earlier our friend Craig Rose with his promotion company. So he does a lot of shows out of the Hard Luck Bar.
Sure.
We played there in October. That's a great place. It's really big in there. Great stage. We saw some cool bands there recently ourselves. We saw Conan do a show there just last year. That was awesome.
What around when? Or like, was it like the
that
first?
Would have been, I think. See, I saw Conan twice last year. Once with Black Label Society, and I think that one was in May. And then we saw them at the Hard Luck, I think in July. Like they came twice within like a very short period of time.
Yeah, I wanted to see Conan last year. I missed him because I was out of town, and just devastating stuff, and just the nicest guys I've ever met. You look at I'm sure. I mean, I've seen some of the posts. You have Conan shirts, and so obviously you're a fan.
For sure.
Yeah, and they play this blistering music, and then I didn't even want. I wasn't even sure if I should approach them. I should have brought all my recording equipment. They would have done an interview in a heartbeat. They were. I can't say how fantastic they are. If you get a chance, check them out.
Yeah, they're really cool. Yeah, for sure. Even when they played with Black Label Society at the Opera House down here, me and the bass player Garrison, we just kind of went up to the merch booth and we're checking out their merch. And then John the singer was just like sitting down on the floor behind them, and it was like I guess nobody really at the show had been really approaching them or anything like that, but we're like, hey man, like what's going on? And he just popped right up, and he was just, I don't know, he was really happy to talk to us, and they signed a bunch of stuff for us. So it was great. Yeah, they're great guys. An awesome band.
Isn't that kind of just indicative though of the scene? When somebody comes through, there's none of that rock star bullshit. It's just, hey, how you doing? Shake your hand, tell a story, hopefully, if you're a fan, you buy some merch. And it's like, growing up, I didn't get any of those experiences. The band went on, they played, they left, and you never saw them. Now it's like you get to have like your moment, even if it's for a minute, just to talk with these people. I think it's fantastic. Yeah,
it's awesome. I went to Garrison and I went to Psycho Las Vegas in 2018. It's like you're seeing guys all like from all sorts of different bands, like Pallbearer, Red Fang, and they're all happy to just kind of hang out and talk with you, and do whatever, talk pictures, shoot the shit. It's cool.
Are you going this year?
I'm debating. I want to see the full lineup. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't go last year with Electric Wizard there, but yeah, I don't know. I just want to see what other bands are coming. I think Down's doing one of their 25th anniversary shows, so that's going to be pretty sick. Yeah, I'm keeping it in mind for sure, but I just want to see the full lineup first.
Also, the one reason that I really want to go, it's one band, Mephistopheles. I don't know if they've ever been in the U.S.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
And you know what? Speaking of being in the U.S., I saw that like you were over at the NAMM Fest recently, right?
I was, yeah. I would just actually, got back from LA just on Monday. So yeah, I was there I didn't go to the NAMM show all 4 days, but I was there for, basically 2.5 out of the 4 days. But yeah, it was great. I went with my cousin, Jeff Gunn. He's like a solo, acoustic finger style guitar player. And he's endorsed by Godin Guitars and Boss Pedals. So he did a performance at the Boss booth, which I was actually able to join him for a song. And then he did a big breakfast seminar thing that they had in the Hilton Hotel, which is to like 1,400 people he was performing.
Nice.
And then he did a set at, it was huge. And then he did just a set at the Godin booth. So it was cool. Yeah, it's awesome there. It's overwhelming. Like I went last year and I thought I'd be a little bit more prepared this year, but you just walk in and it's just like you don't know where to start. Like,
so are you going just, I don't know, like people watch? Are you looking for equipment? What are you doing there?
I was really like, one day I kind of just dedicated myself to, okay, I'm going to just go to these different booths and just try out pedals. Of course, Earthquaker's got so much awesome stuff. Walrus Audio had a lot of really cool pedals. Some smaller ones too, like, even Fuzz Rocious I checked out. I went and talked to some of the guys at Dunnable Guitars. They have some awesome stuff. And then I was kind of doing that in between, like, my cousin's performances were kind of scattered around. So it was kind of, you try to pick your spots of when you can go and really, get into testing gear and everything.
Absolutely.
We got to meet Jerry Cantrell. It was very brief. They kind of shuffled us all through a line. He gives you a picture, signs it, and you maybe get to say 2 words to him, but it was still cool to meet him. So
yeah, it's like shaking hands with greatness. I mean, the Alice in Chains, phenomenal. And just, for the grunge scene or whatever you want to call it, I'll never forget. I saw them at Clash of the Titans tour way back in 1991.
Oh, right.
And quite honestly, the crowd didn't want them. And I was like, I think they're great, but people wanted to see Anthrax and Slayer and Megadeth. And wouldn't you know it, by the end of the year, they were like media darlings.
Yeah. And that tour is probably a huge part of it. Finally, just winning people over slowly.
That's it. One fan at a time. Now, so you're at NAMM. Did you pick up anything?
No, you know what? I didn't ask this last year either, but I don't know how much they're actually selling off the floor there. I didn't pick up anything. It's just kind of more like, okay, kind of writing down like, okay, this is a pedal I want to get. This is a pedal I want to get. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I'm thinking about to expand my my board.
Right.
Out of that. Yeah. So
and maybe maybe you don't. I don't know. Like I've said this before. I'm a massage therapist, and every once in a while I go to the conventions, and they'll have like show deals or like a floor price. Like you could buy this. We've been using it all weekend. You can buy it like at a better price. Did they do that at NAMM?
Not really. Not that I saw. Yeah, it seems to be more like kind of demoing like, oh, this is something new we have coming out for this year. So here's kind of like an early look at it.
Gotcha.
Of course, they got stuff that's been out, before too. But I guess maybe I should have tried a little harder to like ask about that. But yeah, I don't think there's too much sales going on. Like there's a lot of business people that are there too that are trying to, they want to bring this into their store and everything like that to sell. So I don't know how much just like single sales they're really doing there. I don't think it's much.
I mean, the thing is, like, I can imagine, like I said, when I go to my conventions, the companies that bring stuff to the show, they don't want to bring it home, so they try to dump it and get rid of it at a better price. I guess.
True. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
I guess I should ask more about that. Yeah.
So while we're on the subject of gear, what do you use? Do you use something different live than in studio, or can you just give me a little rundown of your gear?
Yeah, sure. Most of the stuff that, particularly that we used on the most recent EP that we recorded, Black Volume 3, is pretty much the same stuff that I'm using live right now. I recently, the kind of the tail end of last year, I picked up, it was at Steve's Music in Toronto, and it was on sale. And I know they don't even make them really in production anymore. But I picked up an orange OR50 head. Before that, I was thinking about ordering some different stuff, and I saw it and I tested it out in this shop, and I loved it. So that's the current amp head I'm running. I'm kind of going back and forth with a few different fuzzes that I have. I've got, of course, Green Russian Big Muff. I've got from Minotaur, Sonic Tears. I've got a Fuzz and Burn, which is a really cool pedal, but I think something's wrong with it right now, so I've kind of gotten away with it. I'm gonna have to get it fixed, but it really has that, like, that Matt Pike, that Mad Amp, just huge fuzzed out sound to it.
Oh, that is a gorgeous sound.
Yeah. I've also got this one I've been using lately. It's a Mythos Pedals Golden Fleece, And since I've got this OR50, I'm trying to just kind of use a little bit more of like the amps gain, and then I use that pedal to just kind of fuzz it up a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah. And I've also got this other fuzz, this Creepy Fingers one that Will, our drummer, gave to me that I'm experimenting with that one a little bit too. So endless fuzz possibilities.
Endless.
Yeah. And then outside of that, my board right now is fairly simple. I just kind of use the phaser, the MXR Phase 90. I have the Jimi Hendrix wah. Yeah, that's kind of my setup right now. It's pretty simple, but and then outside of that, my guitars, I kind of have a weird guitar setup. I use a Schecter 7-string Hellraiser. And I know that 7 strings are not, you don't see a ton of people in this genre using 7-string guitars, but
right.
I don't know, it's really comfortable. Like, I love playing this guitar. I use that, and it's in, if it was a 6-string guitar, it would be in like D standard tuning, with basically just a 7th string thrown onto it. So it's weird that I kind of play it almost as if it's like I'm in C standard tuning, and I just kind of use like the 3rd position on the 7th string as if it's like my root note. But then I can fall lower than that, which is one thing that I like about it. So I can kind of like slide into a really low C that I wouldn't be able to do on a 6-string guitar. And then I also have a Les Paul Studio that I've been using a little bit more recently, that's in C standard tuning. So I'm kind of between tunings right now.
That's interesting because, you see, I don't know, what is it? Degent? I don't know. I know a lot of people use the 7 strings in that, but that's, that brings it to another level. And you know what? While I have you, I'm looking at Bandcamp right now, and I have the picture of all 3 of you. I figured it was probably apropos. By the way, all their stuff's on Bandcamp. Check it out when you get the chance. And also, fucking buy it, because it is crushing. I'm seeing all 3 of you. Which person?
So I am on the picture left. So I think probably you're looking at, there's a Pilsner and a Jameson sign right above my head there.
Yeah, that's you with the glasses.
Yeah, the dorky one.
I prefer to say the motherfucking rock star.
That's right. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. There it is. That's what we need. There you go. So
badass glasses.
Yeah. Oh man, those glasses are so fucking doom. It is. It's almost impossible to look at.
It doesn't get any more crushing than compromised eyesight.
It does. Progressive myopia is fucking doom. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. I know I got a little weird. So let's just move over a little bit from NAMM, and thank you for giving us your gear. And that was like a very specific rundown. I thank you, because somebody's going to catch that and say, you know what? I gotta try out that pedal. But I want to talk about the band a little bit. How did you all get your start?
So I guess kind of to go back, I'll give you a little bit of, I guess, my own history, because myself and our bass player Garrison kind of have a shared history to some degree. Years ago we were both in it was more of a thrash death metal type band. We were called Vengeance Through Annihilation initially, and then we changed our name to Horns of War. And then we only really had that name for maybe a year or so, and then we kind of disbanded. People get jobs, kind of, move on to different things.
Sure.
And I took a really long time off of playing guitar, probably 4 or 5 years of just kind of, giving it up. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, I just kind of it just dawned on me. It's like, you know what? I don't know why I gave that up. I need to get back into that. So I kind of just went back to basics. It's like, okay, I'm going to relearn this instrument. It really didn't take me that long to get back to where I was. It didn't take me nearly as long as I thought it would, and kind of just got better practice habits. And then once I kind of felt like I had my feet under me, I reached back out to Garrison and another friend of ours and just said, hey, do you guys want to, start jamming again? And we kind of just very casually jamming for maybe about, maybe 6 to 8 months or something like that. And then we realized, okay, we need a to take it to the next level. We need to try to find a drummer. So I don't know if you guys have this in the States, but here we use Kijiji for like lists. It's almost like an eBay type of a thing of just like posting ads and stuff like that. And
okay, I've never heard of that at all. How do you spell that?
It's Kijiji. And it's just kind of like, if you have something you want to sell, like some household thing, you can put it on Kijiji, you put an ad up, and then people can contact you about it. You can put your price up or whatever. That's kind of usually what this, it's almost like, I guess not quite like an eBay, but kind of in that vein.
Sure.
But anyways, our eventual drummer, Will, he had posted an ad just kind of listing some influences. He's into Sleep and Electric Wizard and stuff. And at the time I was just kind of scouring ads for, musicians, and sent him a message. We ended up meeting at a rehearsal factory and started jamming together. Garrison was originally playing guitar also, but the guy that we had playing bass, the friend of ours, he ended up having to leave just because it was, I guess, it was going to take too much time and commitment. So he left. Garrison switched to bass, and really, I guess the chemistry kind of just flew from there. We just kind of, after a couple sessions of us playing that way, we knew that it was something we wanted to pursue.
Absolutely. Now, again, as I'm looking left to right, I know you're on the left. So Will is either bearded or not.
He is bearded.
Okay, so Will's on the right. And
that's right.
Okay. All right. So I'm just trying to get a feel for it. So when somebody goes on Bandcamp, they're going to get a feel, and they're going to say, oh, that guy, that's the interview guy, that's the artist guy, and this is the guy that holds down the low end with the bass.
That's right. Yeah.
Fantastic. So when you're starting out, maybe as a younger gentleman, what are some of the influences that you had?
I mean, pretty obviously for me, and even this band, we kind of got to start with Black Sabbath, of course. That was even a thing that even when I mentioned I had when I first started playing, when I was like 13, and then also when I kind of got back into guitar, it was like, okay, I'm just going to try to go back and learn a bunch of Sabbath songs and get back into that vein, and. Sure. That's kind of what, has kind of kept me like going even to now. It's like, I didn't feel the need kind of as I got older. Like I still love, a lot of, the great thrash bands out there, but I'm just, I don't know, I've kind of gotten out of that a little bit where I don't really want to play that style anymore. I want to have, more groove to it, kind of just more heavy tones, not so much like a speed race kind of a thing.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on speed, thrash, death, black. I still like all those genres, and I'll hit a show every once in a while. But the stoner doom and sludge thing, I don't know why. Well, actually, I have an idea. I'll tell you a little bit off mic, but I don't know. I just get so drawn to this right now. Like this is it. And it sounds like you had that similar progression. Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of just gone into where, getting back into that style, it was like, I just went into that genre and just kind of like, I've in the last 3-4 years gotten into so many other bands that I hadn't, heard of before. We talked about Conan, Elder's an awesome band, Pallbearer, Monolord. I got a lot more into Electric Wizard. Sleep obviously is a huge one. High on Fire. Right.
I can go on and on, but just getting really into that genre, and that's clearly what's kind of influencing our sound now.
Awesome. So I know you've had a bunch of dates up there in Canada. Is there any chance that you're going to come to the States?
In the immediately near future, like probably for 2020, I would say probably not, but it's definitely something that we want to pursue going forward. It's just be a matter of, I guess, kind of getting our, touring stripes under our belt, and maybe do a couple tours here and then branch out. But yeah, it's definitely something that we'd want to do down the line.
That's awesome. Thank you. Now, do you mind? Can we just? You mind if we just get into the music a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So on the first two releases, you were at Green Iguana Studios. Were you also there for the latest release, or did you choose something different?
We did do something different this time. We did it a little more DIY. So basically, we recorded in Will's basement, and to really see this setup, it would have looked kind of ragtag. But I honestly feel like the sound that we got on this EP is like much better than the first two.
Isn't that incredible? I mean,
I know, it's just
it really is strange. Like, there was this band from the 80s. The band was called Kicks. And they I don't want to say glam, but they just play straight up balls to the wall, rock and roll. One of the best bar bands you ever see. And the lead singer did a side project when I guess Kicks kind of disbanded. And he did this thing, Funny Money. And, he did their first album, and it was at one of the band members' like living room, and it sounded phenomenal. And it's like,
yeah.
And one of the weird things was he said he had received more money doing that release in somebody's living room than he ever made on a major label. They were on like Atlantic Records, and
oh wow,
yeah. And from I've seen it because I'm a sucker for that kind of music still. I still love it. And I've seen them live a bunch of times. And the last time I saw them, they did this album that they released like 30 years ago, front to back, and he still has the pipes to do it. And he kept mentioning this word, recoup. So they didn't really hit like kind of big till maybe like 4 albums in. So they were deep in the hole with Atlantic Records.
Right.
He thought he was going to be making like a boatload of money, and it's like, oh no, now this is the recoup. And I can't believe like their biggest album ever, and when they released their next one, they were pretty much broke. It's shocking. So kudos to you, brother, for setting that up and doing it DIY. That is completely what this scene is about, man.
I think you're right. Yeah, for sure. And it doesn't hurt, that our drummer Willie works at Along McQuaid, a music store here, and he was able to rent like all the best mics, basically. So there's a lot of reasons why it sounds the way that it does, but that certainly didn't hurt.
Exactly. Use your resources whenever you can.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all right. So we're just going to go over this a little bit. You've got 3 volumes. I want to just kind of break it down. I know on the first one you had a sleep cover, and it sounds like that album progressed. Now, for the second and third, you were some busy dudes because you got both of those out in the same year. And
yeah, we did.
On top
I think
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think that the release dates actually of the first and second were closer together, but they were actually, the first one was recorded probably like maybe 4 months before it actually came out.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we've been on a pretty good clip the last little while. So,
and I like what you're doing because you're really showing whether it's the logo or whether it's the music, you're really showing your progression, whether it's volume 1, 2, 3. It really is showing it. And do you mind if since I have you on the phone, would you mind if we went over volumes 2 and 3 because they were released in the same year?
Yeah, of course. That sounds good.
Okay, so Black Volume 2, we've got Shiva Sativa. What can you tell me about that?
That song, I mean, I think just kind of talking about like the progression of, where we've come. I think really with the second one is kind of where we were more kind of getting comfortable with each other and like collaborating on, kind of even loose jams and turning them into songs. The first one had, some things that we'd been working on before we even had started jamming with Will. And then we kind of, in some ways, had those song structures already in place to a degree. I mean, we changed stuff up, but by the time we started doing the second one, it would just be like, one of the three of us would have an idea, and then the other two would just kind of jump in and riff on it. And Shiva Sativa is like the perfect example of that. Is Will basically had this kind of intro drum beat, and we just kind of started playing over it. And like literally the most of the guitar riffs that I have, I refined them a little bit from when we recorded, but most of them they just came out of loose jamming. And I kind of have like a archaic method that when we're actually in a rehearsal, I just put the voice recorder on my phone and just let it pick up stuff. And most of the time you can't even distinguish stuff. But even if I can hear kind of what, the drum beat was during that jam session, then I can kind of maybe work on some riffs around that. So that's kind of how that song came together. Just like a cool instrumental thing that we just kind of jammed out, and it just came together into that track.
And that comes in just under like 3 minutes and 30 seconds. But the next track, Holy Drifter. You know what? I'll admit. So I'm based in Arizona, and I like to prepare, and I try to listen to as much of the music as I can, or all the music. And I was, I was listening to Volume 3, and I went back to Volume 2, Volume 1, because quite honestly, I was in a fuckload of traffic. But Holy Drifter, both Shiva Sativa and Holy Drifter, there's this really gorgeous jam quality to both of these tracks. And I know that personally, I feel that it changed a little bit in Volume 3, which we'll get to. But what can you tell me about Holy Drifter?
Holy Drifter was, it might be still my favorite track of ours. When I listen to it, it's like, I don't know, there's a quality that I just really love about it. I just think it flows really good. Don't want to toot my own horn or anything or our own horn or anything, but it was actually kind of just like that first rhythm when it starts, and it just kind of like do 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 do. And I don't know, that kind of came to me one day, and basically I just brought it into the guys, and we kind of just messed around. And it took a long time, to be honest. Like there was a version at one point that there's times we played that song and it was like 16 minutes long at one point. And then it's like, okay, we got to try to whittle some of these parts down a little bit. But every time it seemed like we hit like a stop in the song where it was like, okay, what's the next part? We just seemed to be able to, this is probably going to be a running theme for a lot of the songs, but it just seemed like we were able to kind of like loose jam our way out of any impasse that we had. We were just able to kind of figure out where to go next with it. And I think it feels pretty organic most of the way through. There's not like any, really big left turn changes in the song. I think it flows together pretty well.
It really sounded that way. Yeah, it's one of those things that there's a documentary. Is it Southern Steel? I can't remember. When they tell
Slow Southern Steel?
Where they talk about the basically the Dopesmoker story. It's like
I think that was Such Hawks, Such Hounds.
Maybe where you get the riff, and sometimes you kind of want to hear that for an hour straight. And
exactly.
It's exactly what it is. There's even there's a band out here. The band is called Grail, and I've seen. That's one of the beautiful things. If you're local if you're in a scene, and you're local, go to the shows, because this is one thing that I've noticed. It doesn't matter whether it's Sun Below, whether it's Grail, whether it's some other band. I love when I go live and I see a band and they have I don't know, whatever, let's just be arbitrary, like a 4-minute song. And then all of a sudden it's a 6-minute, it's a 10-minute, it's a 14-minute, and you just keep building it and building it. And I'm like, that's cool. It's exactly what the scene is. And, you probably come from the days of banging your head and just like whatever. But now you get into the space where now people just kind of bob their head and they kind of nod and they're like, yeah, Because you're letting the riff and you're letting the drum and the bass, you're letting it envelop you. You're letting it swallow you whole. And that's kind of what comes out. And, hey, I say go for it, dude. I say, go for that 20-minute song. I don't know if your next album is going to be Black Volume 4, but if it is, hey, I'll be more than happy with hearing that 20-minute track, dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's just, I don't know, something fun about having like these longer songs. And, honestly, I don't think we really, maybe people who've been to our shows could maybe say otherwise, but nobody's really ever said, that goes on too long or anything like that. Like, I feel as if the music's strong, then it shouldn't really matter what the length of the song is. Like, really, we could cut the song in half and you'd have 2 5-minute songs. Like, I don't know if that would make anybody happier, but.
Well, yeah, because over the years, I've heard it a few times. I've mentioned it before on different podcasts. Some really famous people have had songs, whether it's the Beatles or Billy Joel or whatever, and they took pieces of songs and, maybe like a 3-minute piece, whatever, and made like a 10-minute song or an 8-minute song or whatever, and it sounds incredible. So, why not?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so one thing
I'll just quickly say too is that even that the song lengths have almost increased since we've been playing them live. Like, they've slowed down a little bit too, so it might be closer to like 13 minutes now.
I can imagine that, because that's one of the things that I noticed from Volume 2 to Volume 3. Volume 2, it's like it's a stonery jam, and it's great. And then when you get to Volume 3, you're like, hey, guess what? We got this stuff here. We're going to slow it down a little bit. So let's start out with Green Visions. What can you tell me about that?
That was one where that was a really easy song to put together, where I had a few of the riff ideas going in, and I think it maybe took us like 2 or 3 jams of just like, here's these riffs, and this riff, goes into that. And then, the other guys are just like, okay, yep, we got that written. And, the drum beat was just there from the beginning. Like, that's probably the easiest song that, where I've had a couple of ideas and come into the, rehearsal space and just to put it together. It was just, I don't know, it was very easy to do. But yeah, I think that just kind of going back to what you were saying, like between 2 and 3, I think there was like a little bit more of a conscious effort to try to make this one sound a little bit doomier, maybe, right. And maybe, sit back a bit, because, especially the way the recorded version, like both, Shiva and Holy Drifter are, they're more upbeat, they're more up paced or whatever. And I think it's like, okay, if we're going to refer to ourselves as kind of being in that, stoner doom genre, let's try to explore a little bit more of the doom side of it. Absolutely.
And you know what? It's the one thing I do notice is, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, I was interviewing the band Source recently, and one of the questions that I discussed about was vinyl. And we'll get into that a little later, but
right.
Are you a vinyl collector?
You know what? I just recently got a record player, so I'm kind of not frustrated, but I've not been collecting CDs, but I have like a pretty decent CD collection.
Right.
Now that I feel like vinyl's making a comeback, I'm like, I kind of wish I had been collecting like vinyls of the CDs that I have. Like, if I should have started this like 5-6 years ago, and then I'd actually have probably a sick vinyl collection, but. I've got a lot of CDs still, so.
And me too.
But they're not. I don't think that's making a comeback anytime soon. Like, it's just going to probably die off. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I imagine I'm probably going to get into collecting vinyl as we go along here.
Absolutely. Like I didn't get it immediately when I first started the podcast, and I asked the question a bunch, and now I get it, and I'm a sucker for it. And sometimes, as much as you love the long track, and you might have like 2 tracks or 3 tracks, on a side, and then you might have one long track on another side. You kind of have to keep in mind that if you do a vinyl release, that you have to keep it within a certain parameter because, you can only fit so much. And, Tanner from the band Source, he was saying, you have the better groove, I guess you could say, in the vinyl when you, when you just put one track on a side, but it takes up a lot. So, what can you tell me about Solar Burnout?
So that one was, it's funny because kind of, talking about Holy Drifter and the length of that song being around 12 minutes. I don't think that Solar Burnout was originally intended to go as long as it did, but we just kind of had like some good riffs and parts, and we just kind of threw them back and forth and did a couple variations in it. And then probably noticed like maybe by like the 6.5 minute mark, it kind of transitions into this slower part that's a little bit more evil sounding.
Yes.
And we really just kind of jammed that just came from loose jamming. And that part specifically, like I think, if you go from that 6.5 or 7 minute mark to the end of the song, that period is maybe 4 minutes long of that kind of evilish riff that we kind of ride out. But there was some jams where we like rode on that for 8-9 minutes, just that part of it, and it was like, okay, we don't need to have a 16-17 minute song on this EP. Let's trim it down a little bit, even though it's fun to play that part and kind of hone in on it. But I don't know, it's a doomy song. It's a really slow song compared to, as you said, like, Holy Drifter.
Exactly.
You kind of got to sit back on that one a little bit. So it's interesting, even when we're trying to put set lists together and see what fits with what or whatever, you kind of got to be careful when you put that one in. But yeah, we really love that song. It's, a great slow burn of a tune.
And so to end this out, Wires. So you did a Red Fang cover. You also, way back in the first release, you did a Dragonaut cover from Sleep. Right. Any reason why you picked both of those covers?
I think in the first one, Dragonaut was kind of, we kind of all at the time were just, and still are, just really big into Sleep. And it was like, okay, when we even first met up with Will, we kind of, before throwing original material, we kind of were going back and forth of some cover songs. And that one was, Garrison and I were already playing a song ourselves, and Will, immediately wanted to jump in and play that song. So that one was kind of a natural choice for our first EP. And then Wires, we actually played that song at our first show, and then we kind of, I don't want to say forgot about it, but we didn't kind of go back to it for a long time. And then when we were getting ready for this recording, we were kind of going over that and a couple other covers that we were considering, and we started playing Wires again. We played at a couple of shows leading up to that, and then it was kind of just we felt really comfortable with that song, and we thought we could do a decent job. And I hope we, with both of that and with Dragonaut, I hope we did a good job by the original composers.
You did a phenomenal job. And so you put Wires in the set. Do you ever put Dragonaut in the set?
Yeah, it still comes up. Actually, lately, what we've been doing is we do Dragonaut, and then we do the first maybe like 2 minutes of the Druid. So it's almost like you're listening to like the first little bit of Holy Mountain.
Oh, nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I like doing that. I was pushing to get the Druid in there for a long time too, and we finally played it at a couple of shows. So,
well, I'm sure if in your area and the scene, if they know their business, you hit those first few riffs of Dopesmoker, maybe that would perk a few ears up as well.
Yeah, I've done it at sound checks for sure. Actually, I can probably go through like most of the, I've done Dopesmoker at sound checks. I've done Holy Mountain at sound checks. I think I've done From Beyond. So I just kind of, it's like, okay, if when I'm doing a sound check and the Sleep riffs sound good, then I know that our stuff's going to sound good.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. So, hey, thanks. Now, okay, so you have Black Volume 1, 2, 3. What's the next phase? What do we got going on for 4? And will it be called that?
So I don't think so. I mean, I'd never say never about doing a 4 down the road, but I think our next priority is to try to get a full length together. kind of our idea with the APs was just to, while we're playing shows, have some music out there that you can kind of direct people to. That okay, we're on Bandcamp, we're on Spotify, so check out our first EP, check out our second one. Just kind of have that consistent flow of new material coming in, so you have kind of something to share. And when you're playing shows, you have a better chance, obviously, of people knowing your material that way.
Right.
Just to kind of get stuff out there. But this one, I think we want to, maybe take our time a little bit more, do a proper full length. And just kind of maybe, get our merchandise out there, get more shows going. Just kind of, these ones, it's just kind of been like, okay, let's do it. Let's get it out there, man. Let's get it out to the people or whatever. But I think we're going to take a little bit more time with getting this full length. But it's definitely in the works. We've got other material that we're working on right now. So, I think it's going to be, I'm looking forward to it.
Now, here's the big question. Are you going to have it on vinyl?
I think probably, yeah. I don't see why not. Like you said, it's a big thing in the scene right now of doing vinyl. So it's definitely something I'm looking I think we'd be looking at. The other thing is tape seem to be making a bit of a comeback too. So that's another option, and I think it's pretty cheap too, from what I hear.
It is, and I'm going to be straight up and honest. I really don't know why cassettes are coming back, but I guess it's. Maybe it's just to have something tangible, and for that,
I think that for sure,
fair. And plus, the other thing is, you used to get the cassette and like a plastic casing. Now the casings have become a lot more elaborate, so maybe it's kind of like a collector's piece, and kind of like I got this.
Yeah, I think you might be right, because I don't know how many. Obviously vinyl's making has had a big comeback, and record players are selling again, but I don't know, like our tape players, I don't know where you could go get one.
Honestly,
I'm sure they're around, but
yeah, everybody that I talk to, they're like, well, I just went to Goodwill, I went to Salvation Army. I don't know what, I apologize, in your area, is there something like that? Like Goodwill, Salvation Army is the same?
Yeah, we have both those things. Yeah, it's the same thing here. Yep.
Okay. All right, well, you know what? Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate that. Now, here's the thing. So, I started this. I stopped it. I can't remember them a lot of times. But I'm going to try starting this up again for 2020. Kind of a New Year's resolution for the Doom Tomb podcast. And that is asking a question, and then you give me a question for the next band. So,
all right, let's do it.
Yeah. Now, Shane is in a million bands. He's in Hillbilly Devil Speak. He's in Source. He's in Via Vengeance, and he's in Surf Through Death. He is an amazing drummer, and he does so much with. In his solo project, Via Vengeance, he's a one-man doom band. He plays drums and guitars. He's incredible. And he had some questions, and then there was another question from Chan from Surf Through Death. So I'm going to ask you a few questions that they asked, and then if you have a question, you can give it to me. If not, I got a few more ideas to talk to you about, and then maybe you'll come up with something. Is that cool?
All right, let's do it.
All right. The first question, toilet paper. Do you put the toilet paper roll on where the toilet paper comes out under or over?
I would say probably both. It just really depends on what way I happen to grab it when replacing it. Because, I've seen it. Yeah, I've done it both ways.
I almost want to hang up right now. I almost do. Because I'll admit I'm an over guy. My wife is an under woman. And there's a great picture. I got to post it where it's like the under looks like a mullet, kind of, and the over looks like a beard. So mullet bad, beard good. So
beard good. Yeah,
I'm going with the over. you're like kind of ambidextrous.
I'm kind of an in between. Yeah.
That's
I'm not
fine.
really picking a country here.
That's fair. Fair enough. Okay. Second question. So you're just kind of getting into the revolution of vinyl, and when I interviewed Source and then subsequent, I interviewed Via Vengeance, and then did a little addendum or an annex to it. And he asked me about just a basic question. What is your most coveted piece of vinyl?
My most coveted. I'm going to say, I guess, if you were to say any of the first 6 Sabbath albums on their like original issuance, that would be, just a vintage of any of those.
Brilliant. I love it. Okay, fair enough.
Doesn't get much. I don't really have any it doesn't get much better than those to me for vintage albums. I know this sounds like the typical thing that everybody in a stoner doom band would say, but that's what I got for you.
No, I totally understand. I mean, it's like we like what we like, and the impetus or the beginning of this starts with Sabbath, and I think, are we in the month or is it next month? It's coming up where it's like the 50th anniversary, I believe, of the first Black Sabbath. Yeah,
I think we are getting, because it would be, it was 70, so, and it came out in February, on February 13th, did it?
Dude, you got me, brother, but I will go check it out. And I know, I'm in there as well, like, when I post stuff on social media, a hashtag that I use is Praise Iomi, which I share with the band out of Kalispell, Montana called Wizard. So, okay, we got one more question here from another band, and that question is, if you could go back in time, what is the first thing you would change?
What would I change?
I don't know.
Well, I'll stick with I was thinking of something because of course one of my, favorite, movie and then sequel is the Terminator series. So I'm thinking okay, what's something like Terminator themed that I could go back and do? So I think what I would do is I'll stay within the Terminator and I'll just prevent them from ever making any more Terminator movies after T2.
You know what? That is fantastic. That's a great answer. I thank you, because I could agree with that, because now I think about it, I don't think I've seen anything after T2.
Yeah, I didn't go to see the most recent one, and I don't know, they're out of story ideas, and they really need to stop bringing Arnold back. As much as I love him, he can't do it anymore.
He basically doesn't need to be back anymore, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it was a perfect, it was a perfect 2-movie series, and I don't know why they had to go ahead and mess with it.
I totally agree. Now, while I have you on the subject, just side question. Do you have Netflix?
I don't at the moment, no. I did at one point, but then, actually, it wasn't even my subscription that I was using. I think it was our bass player Garrison's. I just was one of the users on it, but no, I don't have it at the moment.
Let's just say you allegedly did that. not actually did it, but allegedly.
It's a rumor.
Yeah, it's a rumor. Yeah. So, whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever, what was your last binge watch?
My last binge watch. Oh, I did just watch something too. I'm drawing a blank here.
Okay.
I guess True Detective season 3. That was pretty recent. That it's I didn't even realize that it had come out at the time. So then it was a bit later that it was oh, there was a new season of this. So
is that the Matthew McConaughey thing?
He was in the first season, and then every season they have a new cast in it and a new storyline.
Right.
And second season was really bad, and then this third one was really good.
Awesome. And since you are in Canada, are there any Canadian programs that we need to check out that we're missing?
Now I don't know if it is just a Canadian program, but I was just watching an episode of it yesterday. I don't know if you guys have the show Vikings up there. It's on our History channel, and I don't know if that is just a Canadian thing.
We do have that. Yes.
Oh, okay. Letterkenny is a really good comedy series that I know is like it's Canadian made.
It's incredible.
I'm just starting to get into that. Yeah.
It is so good. I'm over the moon about it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked way back. There was I don't remember if I asked Cosmic, but I know I asked Zola from the band Pink Cocoon.
We're playing with him in the next little bit in
Are
April.
You really?
We're gonna be, yeah.
Dude, he is so cool. I can't wait to see what they're going to be releasing next, or what he's going to be releasing next. Yeah, you won't be disappointed. Great stuff.
Yeah.
A little bit of grunge influence and stoner doom, and it's just great. And I asked him about some shows, like whether it was Corner Gas or You Can't Do That on Television from way back in the 80s, and he's like, you know what? I just deal with music, man. I don't know.
I know. I don't watch like too much TV, but I will say that like some of the like, marquee series that are out there, like, Game of Thrones, I followed. Most of the stuff if HBO puts out. Actually, the show I was going to say, it just occurred to me, was the new Watchmen series that they had on HBO.
Really? I'm not familiar. What?
Yeah.
Tell me a little.
So, and prior to watching this show, I was not like too aware of like the original. Like I knew of it, but I wasn't really too into like the original like Watchmen comic series that came out. And then they did like a Hollywood movie of it in like the late 2010s or whatever, like maybe 2010 or whatever it came out. And this show is supposed to take place in it's kind of like a dystopian modern. It's like taking place in present day, but it's as if all these events that happened in the original comic took place back in the 80s, where there was like, I don't know, like they were on like the verge of like nuclear war, and then these superheroes kind of came in, and there was only really one real superhero, this Dr. Manhattan, and he can basically do anything.
Interesting.
And this big scheme, and yeah, I don't know. It's I'm probably, anybody who's like a real fan of it is probably hating the explanation I'm giving right now, but they're probably just like cringing. But it's a really good show. So anybody, if you like any of the stuff that HBO usually puts out, you're probably gonna like this show.
Awesome. I just got a few more questions for you, and then I'm going to ask you for your question to ask next band. Best local spot in your area to get some good food?
So I'm going to go with, this place is called Dimes, and it is actually right beside the Bovine Sex Club. And it's cheap food. Like you can get, pretty much, I think most of their menu items are like $5 and under, or just around $5.
Right.
But it's awesome. Like they have great calamari there. They usually have like a full wrap and fries you can get for like $5, and it just kicks ass.
Awesome.
And it's very convenient too for playing gigs in the area. And it's like, you just go there, you gorge for a little bit, and then go to the venue, have a couple beers, and knock out a set.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds perfect. So you hit that, you chat down, and then you go over to the Bovine Sex Club. It's going to take me a while to get used to that name, brother. I got to be honest with you. I just want to ask you a few more questions. What's the first song that you learned on guitar?
Man, that's tough. Like, I don't know, did like nursery rhymes count? It was probably like something like that off of like they give you like those like beginner guitar,
of course,
books, and they used to have like a CD in them or something. So I don't know, Twinkle Twinkle was probably in there somewhere.
Well, let me change it. Let me put it to like, what's the first one where you hit the riff and you felt like a rock star?
Probably Iron Man, or I do actually vaguely remember in my public school like being completely unprepared to do it, but like I played guitar because I'd been I'd had a lesson and been practicing for like 2 months. So I remember us doing like a cover of the White Stripes at like a public school talent show.
Really? What track?
Yeah. Why is it blanking on me? What's like the main one? They have the da 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 da.
Seven Nation Army.
Yeah. Of course. Why am I not forgetting that? But it was that. So here I am, just up there ripping that riff with my whole 2 months of guitar experience.
Fantastic. So far, since the band's inception, what has been your favorite gig?
It's tough because there's a few that are like have been good for different reasons. I would say actually one we did in July at going back to the Bovine Sex Club. That was really good. We played with Villain, Answer with Metal. Both of those bands are actually opening up for Ross the Boss next week in Toronto, which I'm going to. That's going to be really cool.
Nice.
Cell Phone was also on that bill, and then Black Galaxy. And I don't know, just every band just basically brought their A game to that show, and there was a good turnout. That was a really good one. You mentioned the heavy metal barbecue that we played. We got to do 2 sets that night, and it was just it was very unique. Like we played in a guy's basement, but we had there's a lot of people there all crammed into like one spot, and everybody seemed to be pretty into it. We played in October with Kron Goblin and Black Mastiff at the Hard Luck Bar, and it's a really cool venue. And like I said, we saw Conan play there like a couple months before, so
nice.
It was a blast to play that.
I don't know where. What is it? Is it like 10 o'clock by you?
Yeah, about that.
Okay, so I really want to say thank you so much for giving me so much of your time. I know sometimes I talk a little bit much, but I like to get the word out, and I love the scene so much, and it's people like you and other people in the scene that make it so worthwhile when you could just shoot the bull and just talk about whatever. So thank you very much for joining us. Now, do you have a question to ask another band?
Yeah, I'll keep it relatively simple, but I just want to thank you too, Chris. Thanks for having me on here. It's great being on the Doomtombpodcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so my very simple question is sativa or indica?
Oh, fair question. I love it. Very good. All right, sir. So, Jay, thank you so much. This has been the interview with Jay from Sun Below. Go check them out on Bandcamp. We will have tons of links in the show notes. We might have extended show notes for this one. Jay, thank you so much, brother, and hang on. I think it's time to hear a track from Black Volume 3 from Sun Below. This is Green Visions. Doom Tomb Podcast on social media and doomtombpodcast@gmail.com. That is how to reach us. Also, I have a show on craniumradio.com. It is called The Doom Tomb, 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sundays. So join me. And who knows, I might be on another time, another place when DJ might not be able to make it due to whatever we have going on right now. So check him out. It's not only stoner, doom, and sludge stuff. There's a whole bunch of other styles of music that are played on the channel. Go check it out at craniumradio.com and see what you might like. Thanks, everybody. I know this is a weird time. We're going through it. We'll get through it together. Hope you're all good out there. And until the next time, meantime, and in between time, enjoy yourselves. Stock up on toilet paper, but not too much. Sanitizer. That'd be a good idea. Alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and any other kind that you can take in. Yeah, I think it's about it. All right, I'm out. Stay heavy.
And numbers, nothing more than court exhibit. They got me, the unchosen nothing's not there. Space outside your mind. I've already chosen to stay the one of my kind. I say so. Outside your mind.